Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So it's been a while since we visited the Wonder Woman discussions, and one of our audience members basically posted and said, hey, what's the word on Wonder Woman? If we could go ahead and kind of look into it a little bit. And I decided why not, because I myself I'm kind of curious. So I tracked down the subreddit for Wonder Woman game, and it's very interesting the conversations that are being held here. And what's a shame is there are not a lot of members. So I'm going to go ahead and join so I can continue to stay up to date with the conversation so far. But there are a few things that I really wanted to go ahead and just bring in front of you guys, and I think it's actually going to be very interesting. Also, pardon my choice of gameplay footage. I do not have anything from Middle-earth that I recorded, Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War. So I have Rise Son of Rome, so you're just going to have to deal with that because that's the next best thing. But apparently the conversation that we have today is basically that Wonder Woman is more than likely going to be on the past generation of consoles based on a job listing that's actually been put on the Monolith website. Now there's, just some comments to that effect, but I think at the end of the day, everyone here can agree that a better business strategy is actually putting your game on as many platforms as you can possibly do, and also make sure that there are a lot of players who have more availability. Now the question is, how is this going to affect the game? Are we going to get the graphic fidelity? Are we going to get the graphic quality that we would like to get in a game of that kind? Is it something that, as players, we're going to basically have to deal with potential limitations because of this as the result? I guess the answer is when the game actually was in production. In fact, on the Reddit post, somebody actually put out a comment saying that the rumors had been that the game was in production, but nobody necessarily knew what Monolith was actually working on. And Monolith basically, had been working on this game for a while now. And if that is the case, then there is, in my opinion, the likelihood that the game is going to have a cross-generation type setup, which is, in my opinion, very good. It really does allow for a lot of possibilities and a lot of options. And even though many times we may think that a lot of these games may not necessarily be at their best with the past generation consoles, I don't think we need to quickly forget that many great games were released on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generations. I think what the work is the optimization that has to go into a lot of these games that can be very challenging in terms of how it all works. For those of you who know the Arkham games, if you think about even other games like Horizon Zero Dawn, these games were released on the PlayStation 4, and even though they weren't running at 60 FPS at the time, you can always say that these games actually did have a very solid focus. And so this is something that's really cool and something that we really need to pay attention to. A few other tidbits are, some of the writers that are going to actually be on the Wonder Woman game have worked on the Middle-earth games and even the Horizon games as well, which is actually quite interesting because Horizon Zero Dawn, if there's something that many people have commended it about, is the story of the game itself. The game really does have a compelling story, but, for some others, they may not necessarily have been to, engage with the entire process and engage with the entire premise of the game, but that's also a whole different conversation in a sense. But I think these things are quite interesting and quite important to take a look at because, for fans, they really would like to know exactly what it is that the nature of the game in terms of its creative perspective, or at least its creative coalition, looks like. So the creative perspectives that we have some people that have worked and, been able to get out some seasoned stories that are well beloved across the board. So these are some things that, for some fans, they're really starting to become very critical right now because, think about it. Wonder Woman is a very dynamic character. She's had, a very interesting story where her story has spanned from her ancient world of Themyscira, where she deals with a lot of this different Greek mythos, and spanned into Earth, which is something that she also has had a lot of different encounters and interaction, even membership with the Justice League, who are Earth's heroes that are from Earth and from different planets. So if you kind of think about the character from that proxy, she stands in this central part where there are all of these other connections that she has. So there is this big question as to how they're going to go ahead and write her character. Is her character going to be written from the classic perspective where she's, in sense dealing with the entire classic Greek mythos and all of those different things like you see in a lot of these other games? Or is it going to be a thing where she's dealing with a much more Earth related type, setting and an Earth related type story? So all of these things start to kind of come into perspective when you think about the fact that she's a character that can be written in a very broad sense. There's no doubt that her as a character is going to be very interesting for people to write. Now, somebody did mention on the subreddit is that, they hope that the character that's, Diana herself is treated very respectfully, because she's not a bloodthirsty character. I mean, compared to a lot of the other war heroes that you see in video games, in different mythos and books, she doesn't really appear to be as such. She is strong. She is headstrong in a sense, but there's something very unique about her, is that she does have this diplomacy at the center of, what the character is written for. In fact, the intro where her mom is saying that she should form bonds and, reach out to, a lot of her allies, and even try to make sure that, she's able to get allies that are behind her, seems to kind of lend to that purpose, that she's not going to just be like Kratos running around and just destroying everybody, or, your protagonist in Rise, Son of Rome, but someone who actually is looking for ways to, ensure that her missions are done, but in the best possible way, and in a way that basically suits everyone that, is around her. So, man, it will be really, really interesting to see how they come up with all of these different sides of the character to show us. But at the end of the day, I think more than anything else, even though her story may have all these dynamics, I think at the heart of everything, it's a story that's been told many times. At the end of the day, it's a video game, so gameplay is something that would need a huge emphasis. But we'll continue this conversation later on, and I'm going to continue to track how fans and even members of the subreddit are reacting, and just look up the other information that they refer to, and I can bring that to you guys. So far, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk very soon. Peace out.